cousins, I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not, and this is Plot Twist Please, where I like to use pop culture in order to help make our brains a little cozier. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Setting: early 2000s, the suburbs. It's picture day. I'm a little black girl with little black optimism because it's picture day, and I'm convinced I was made to be in front of the camera. I knew, y'all. I knew. Of course, I didn't have all the answers, and you'll soon see why. I'm wearing a pastel blouse and, a cute little skirt, a little bit like the dress I'm wearing now, and it floats when I walk. It's a whole moment. My hair has been pulled, stretched, combed, detangled, moosed up, and maneuvered into thick braids, maybe like 10 of them. You know the ones. Maybe you do. If you know, you know. Tied together by bright neon colored hair ties that you could swing around your finger if no one was standing too close to you. Yeah. I walk up to my classroom door and I swing it open. Immediately, I hear the loudest kind of noise. Complete silence. The drama of it all. I instinctually think that they must be staring because I'm a vibe. I'm like, she's a cutie. Yes, thank you. Just kidding. But then later that day, I hear someone of the Caucasian variety chuckling and speaking in hushed tones. I think to myself, what's so funny? I want to laugh too. I love a good jest. And at that point, I'm the socially afraid kind of autistic. So I, don't ask. I don't include myself. Oh, no. I don't start a conversation. We don't do that. We don't speak. But I do eavesdrop, something I'm very good at that point in my life. So I stretch my little eardrums and do some investigative work. And I hear that person of the Caucasian variety refer to the hair on my head as a bunch of worms. Yeah. I go home crying. I show up for this picture day, and plaster on my little smile. But ultimately, I'm confused. How could something that looked so beautiful to me in my eyes be so ugly in someone else's eyes? Listen, cousins, my neurodivergent cousins out there who are adjacent to autism, or maybe you think you're autistic. I think many neurodivergent Black women can relate to the experience of noticing themselves being noticed for the first time, if you know what I mean. Unfortunately for me, the neurodivergent urge to meet the social expectations of everyone around me in order to feel, quote, normal, and my desire to fit into the tight corners of whatever box that white suburbia had set out for me combined, or should I say, royally combusted. Now listen, I was raised by an intelligent, self-possessed Black woman. So what went wrong? I've come up with reasons as to why there is an immense amount of pressure on Black women and, specifically Black people, but we're talking about Black women today. Why there's this emphasis in our culture to always have our hair, quote, laid. If you don't know, I talk about neurodivergence a lot on here as it pertains to wellness principles. So that's what we're talking about today. The first thing I observed is that respectability is a trauma response. Now, pause. If you do not know what respectability is, I got you. Don't worry. We're all in this together, cousins. So, E. Francis White coined the term politics of respectability in Dark Continent of Our Bodies, Black Feminism and Politics of Respectability. Look it up. Do you clickety-clack and look it up? Now, here are the spark notes. When someone talks about respectability politics, they're referring to a political strategy wherein members of a marginalized community will consistently abandon or punish controversial aspects of their cultural political identity as a method of assimilating or achieving social mobility or being able to gain respect from the majority. Now, as it pertains to this episode in particular, we're talking about Black people being the minority and white people being the majority from a Western standpoint in America. Now, mind you, I'm not referring to an amount of people or, to a number in a population within a certain environment when I say, quote, majority or, quote, minority. By majority, I'm referring to people who are facilitators and benefactors of the dominant culture in America. And by minority, I'm referring to people who do not benefit from or facilitate the dominant culture. Yeah, you feel? You smell me? And in this case, those minority members are Black people. Hey, y'all. Just a disclaimer here. This episode is absolutely for everybody. Everyone can benefit from what I'm going to say today. Truly, everybody. But my focus is on issues that specifically involve the Black community and, the Black neurodivergent community, that is. That may include phrases, idioms, cultural references that my non-Black audience may not be privy to, that they may not quite get. But if that happens, I just want to let you know that Google is a click away. And if you want to go do some digging and then mosey on over here to continue following along, feel free to do that. Thank you. Now, if you are a negress like me, that's, a version of the word Negro, if you're following along, listen closely. Lend me your ear canals, my friends, because what I'm about to say, you will probably get mad at me. Laid edges will not free us. The edges are laid, but the mind is in shackles. The edges are laid, but the mind is in shackles. The edges are laid, but the mind is in shackles. I'm sorry. Okay. Ground control to Major Tom. We're here. What I mean by this is that Black people, after, slavery, developed a coping mechanism, if you will. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Just burped into the microphone. Hair discrimination, which is discrimination against Black people based on, not based on anything logical, because it's not ever based on logic, is it? But it is discrimination based on your hairstyle, and specifically against Afrocentric hairstyles. Studies show that a Black person in America often gets treated differently by their white counterparts based on whether or not they are displaying an Afrocentric hairstyle. If you are wearing cornrows, you're less likely to be viewed as professional in that job setting or, in that job interview. It also could mean if you're wearing an afro, i.e. the way your hair naturally grows out of your scalp, the way the follicles pop out of your head, you're probably going to be perceived as unruly or rebellious or, even intimidating in that board meeting. This happens in classrooms, at work, and in public settings where the dominant culture is prevalent. Now, within this context, right, we just took the macro view. Let's bring it down to the micro view. Okay, let's get specific. It makes sense why our Black mothers, aunts, and grandmothers were always on our case about our edges. Right, these things right here. Why we labored over boiling pots of water with rollers in our hair. Why we slept on our chins like this, parallel to our pillows, and took long, deep breaths as terrifyingly hot pressing combs steamed with heat mere centimeters away from our ears. Okay? Y'all, we were willing to risk it all for a silk press. Arm, leg, earlobe, it was all fair game. Oh, wow. Though I say this in jest, I understand as an adult now that ultimately our parents were just trying to protect us. It's a weird point of contention that a lot of Black people in adulthood, Black women specifically in adulthood, have to come to, realizing the things that were intended to protect us that also harmed us, right? And, even though my press and comb burns have healed, I have come to the conclusion that respectability, forcing your kids to straighten their hair for picture day, not allowing them to leave the house in sweatpants, is a trauma response. Yeah, you've heard from women that, quote, beauty is pain, unquote. But for a lot of Black women, beauty is survival. Beauty deems us worthy of financial compensation, of comfort, and even of protection against violence. What I'm going to talk about next is what happens when specific trauma responses become more dire in our lives and start turning into lifelong goals rather than just aspirations or inspiration. Chapter 2, Fetishization of aesthetics. Yes, we have chapters. Now look, I won't say all, because we are not a monolith, but a lot of Black women think of something very specific when we hear the word luxury. And what we picture is not ease. What we picture is straight lines, crisp edges, straight hair, or the loose, long Brazilian hair. You know exactly what I mean. And above all, money. We picture the kind of lifestyle that only extreme privilege and resources can offer someone. If this wasn't true, we would picture 4C hair, a couch, and a remote control. So y'all know I'm not lying. Don't play me. Do not play me on this. Do not. In the Black community, at least in the digital space, what we put out there, it seems like luxury has to be loud in order to be valid. It's not enough to just be wealthy. You have to be obviously wealthy. We need to see the jewelry, the furs, the Rolls Royce. We need to see the yacht trips, the tropical vacations, the mansions. And I'm not here to make a judgment on that either. I know where you might think I'm going with this, but I'm not here to make a judgment on that. It is what it is. In the Black community, if you're not proving how wealthy you are, you're not actually wealthy. I'd also argue that a lot of women, especially with self-care blowing up online, performing wealth through the things we buy and the things we talk about buying is like a social script that we've ascribed to. So, what does this have to do with neurodivergence? Well, my neurodivergent cousins. As a Black neurodivergent girl, I can admit to you from experience, performing wealth is exhausting. It's exhausting, darling. Because here's what performing wealth actually means for a woman alone. Like, not even talking about Black women, but talking about women in general. Or, rather what it can mean. It means having a 10-step skincare routine, right? And being able to have like all these like hot products, getting your hair done, highlights, blowout, etc., getting your nails done consistently. It's got to be weekly because, oh God, we're not even going to talk about how impossible it is to take off your acrylic nails by yourself if you get them done at the salon. It's a trap. It's a trap. They are trapping us. They know we cannot get those nails off by ourselves. They know we need their little machines. They know it, and it's working. Getting our eyebrows done, getting our nails done, etc., etc. Now, that's just a short compiled list. But let's zero in, right? Let's talk about what performing wealth can mean for a Black woman, okay? Having a 10-step skincare routine, still similar. Getting your hair done, highlights, blowout, silk press, or because finding a stylist who does Black hair costs an obscene amount of money and time, who does Afrocentric hair, figuring it out yourself, which can take hours, typically takes days, and may be filled with experiences that are not sensory friendly at all. Leave a comment if you have had a hair experience that was not at all sensory friendly. I could name 10 off the top of my head. Anytime my hair was below my shoulders, anytime I had like braids, those things be itchy. Those things are itchy. Like long box braids, them are itchy. Unless you get the nice hair, the quote nice hair, the soft hair, right? Let me know in the comments if you have had a not sensory friendly hair experience as a Black person. Maintaining your wigs, right? They don't talk about that. Washing, well, actually they do. I just wasn't paying attention. I'm telling you, I've learned the hard way is what I'm admitting to you right now. Washing, conditioning, Lord knows I learned this the hard way. Hundreds of dollars it cost me to learn that lesson. Hundreds of dollars. Getting your nails done, never having your bare nails out ever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Mama would never let y'all have your bare nails out ever. You had your toenails out in the summertime, they better have been painted. You had your fingernails bare. Oh no, you're not done. You're not done getting ready for school. Get back in that room and paint those nails. Getting your lashes done, never leaving the house in sweatpants. I don't care if they are Gucci sweatpants. They are for the indoors. Sweatpants are for the streets and for the indoors. That's what we were told, right? And if you know, you know. Never being allowed to wear a messy bun. I cannot wait to talk about this one. I talked about this on TikTok, but why is it that there are no laid Black hairstyles for Black women? for kinky hair, not curly, not coily, 4C hair, not 2B, not 4B. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. You know what I mean. Even if it's a quote messy bun, it has to be slicked down, edges down, hair tight to the scalp, curls fresh popped out from rollers or a twist out, and every strand better be in place. There is no version of a 2-minute hairstyle for Black women. There isn't. There's not. It doesn't exist. Even quote effortless beauty for us has to be prepped the night before. And I'm sick of it. The hours I spend. Comment below if you are sick of it. Hashtag sick of it. You know what I actually am going to do? I'm going to start a hashtag Black girl messy bun, and I'm going to go through the process of what it takes to make a quote messy bun as a Black woman. I'm going to spearhead a revolution. That's what I'm going to do. Put it in the comments if I should do it. If I get enough comments on it, then maybe I will do it. Anyway, the wild thing about this phenomenon, y'all, is that no one explicitly says out loud, or at the very least, I've never heard anyone in my community say out loud, if your hair doesn't look this way, you're not considered part of the Black elite. But it's an unspoken expectation. And if you're not a part of the Black elite, what it seems like is there's no in between being Black elite and being, quote, stereotypically Black. I think specifically because of the circles I'm in, I'm used to this aesthetic of needing, or rather, I'm used to witnessing the desire to fit into this Black elite aesthetic take place. I'm used to seeing it in action. And so it seems like there's this binary idea of Blackness, especially if you're someone who is a public figure, quote unquote, or, is an entertainer. You can either be, quote, Black elite, meaning the hair, the skin, the nails, the lashes, the makeup, everything, the clothes, everything about you has to be that, or you're just not one of them. You're just not, which is very interesting. It's a very interesting phenomenon. I think a lot of Black people view that kind of Blackness as aspirational. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we have such a siloed idea of what excellence, quote unquote, is. I would invite us to expand what Black excellence actually is and what it can look like. But I do feel like that is the unspoken expectation. But I think for a lot of people, wealth signaling is a way to differentiate ourselves, to communicate who we are, or more importantly, what we do for a living before we even open our mouths. I had a video earlier last year about how in American culture, our occupations define us socially. Way deep in the weeds, but I believe it had something to do with labor and quiet quitting. I think that's what it had to do with. But yeah, take a look. But yes, without going too off topic, as I tend to, that leads us to our third chapter of this episode, which I think is the most pervasive, maybe the one that we need to investigate the deepest. Chapter 3, Culture as Comfort. A lot of people in general are drawn to what they're comfortable with. When you know what the expectation is to dress within the guise of the standard, or, to have your hair and makeup done on this level, it puts you more at ease. Now, I think a lot of women friend groups do the good old, what are you wearing before the meetup, before the function? Because we need to know what the bar is. We need to know. And I acknowledge that, on some level, culturally, women bond over wealth signaling or over class signaling. A lot of marketing is geared toward that idea. We gawk at that cute purse and those stunning shoes because we want to know where we can get that cute purse and those stunning shoes. Where, not just women, of course, but whether it's our cultural upbringings or our deep roots, we are socialized to bond over what we buy. People in general, whether or not someone buys a product lets us know whether or not we should be in community with them. If you're the kind of person who dresses to the nines everywhere you go, you might be likely, you would likely have a lot in common with someone who does the same. The wealth signaling or class signaling is a way to let people within a certain demographic know that you are on par with them and maybe even a level above them. If outfits could talk, the outfit would say, if you want to be in community with me, you are likely to have a safe social experience. As an autistic person, it took me a while to realize that people really do judge people based on what they wear. Like, it's an actual thing. Like, it's not like you just show up as yourself and people see the inside first. People see this first. I don't know if other autistic people have had that, like, metamorphosis kind of experience, but it took me a long time to realize that people were going to think I was a certain way based on the shirt I was wearing. And I know that seems like elementary, right? But I feel like a lot of autistic people just are not aware like that. Like, we just don't know. We just don't know. We have a disconnect between how we feel inside and how we are perceived. Now, it is a popular ethos specifically woven into the Black beauty community that you must aspire to wealth and or appear to be wealthy. And I understand why. It's comforting to feel like we could potentially have a slice of the American pie, the American dream. So much so that we are willing to punish anyone who does not buy into this pursuit, because those people, we think subconsciously are a threat to that value system. We mock them. We make fun of their, quote, hard wigs and shame them for walking out of their houses with unkempt hair. But genuinely, I think we are just afraid of detaching from that value system. Personally, even though I understand why we've adopted this affinity toward wealth signaling, that doesn't mean I have to ascribe to it. Now let me be crystal clear. All right? Look at me. When I say you can rock your Gucci bags, I mean it. Brazilian hair, etc. Do that. Love that for you. But I am not built for that kind of upkeep, y'all. I'm an overachieving autistic who has been overachieving since I was 5. Don't get me wrong, the hair is going to be laid. The makeup that I will learn how to do and continue to get better at doing, because it took me a while to get the eyeliner right. It took me a while. It took me decades to get the eyeliner right, y'all. And because of my job, because of my profession, I just have to learn how to do it. But I refuse to exhaust myself and my funds in order to fit into a box. So here's what I've been doing as a, late diagnosed autistic Black woman who has spent 20-ish years overachieving in predominantly white environments. Being perpetually sleep deprived as an adult has forced me to develop a few systems for myself. For example, I've put a harsh limit on the amount of time I will spend on my hair. Now listen, if I gotta pay somebody, I'ma pay the cash money. I'm gonna pay it. I will pay it. Because I will tell you one thing, hair is not a gift that I was given. Doing hair is not a gift that I was given. If I cannot find my way to a hairdresser, what I will do is make a 2-braid max updo. You've seen it on this channel. It's fancy enough, and you just need a little bit of product, maybe just some water even. And if you want to go bananas, if you really want to, click your heels like the sock hop, you can put little clips, little flowers in it. You can add some little rhinestones. One hairstyle fits all occasions. Gotta love versatility. I've learned that once you find what works for you, it'll make your life a whole lot simpler. So that is what I choose to do. Streamlined systems, minimal effort. That's what works for me. And I encourage you, cousins, to find what works for you. As I wrap this right up, I want to remind you that only you can define what, quote, presentable means for you. Yes, I know prejudice. I know the world is the world, but where you can take, some liberties and shortcuts, I would. And most importantly, let's be a little easier on each other, huh? Like, not everyone wants a silk press or a wig installed, and some people would just rather not have something itching their neck 24/7. That's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share this with a pal or, a foe. Leave a review. I love a review. Please leave a review. Be blessed and stay weird. Bye.